Hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked and I am delighted to be joined on this Friday morning by Craig Cairns. How's it going, Craig?
Good. You don't sound delighted to be joined by me, Joel.
Mate, I'm on holiday on Monday and I would like to be on holiday today, but too much work to get through. So,
You should have taken a break before now, Joel. I know this isn't the kind of stuff that we come on here to discuss, but you should have taken more of a break before now.
It's too much football. But
That's what happens when you take on a new start.
Yeah, I know. And playing in Europe and just sort of change your manager. Yeah, it's what has been one thing after another. But we'll get through there. Obviously, it would have been far more upbeat if we had turned a very positive first half performance into a win last night, but that wasn't the case, and we'll come on to discuss why, where it went wrong, etc., in the next 15 to 20 minutes. So we didn't do a reaction video last night because it was late. You had to get home, back up to Dundee, and it would just be more sense to do one this morning. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, Good Vibes Giveaways are proud to sponsor Hearts Standard and offer fantastic prizes to fans of the club. Prizes change weekly and include tech gadgets, days out, weekends away, tax-free cash, and even OASIS tickets if they're still going around. Get your tickets now at www.goodvibesgiveaways.com and enter for your chance to spread the good vibes. I'm not doing the sunglasses emoji thing because I really do not feel like sunglasses emoji guy. So I suppose best place to start off is asking you, because you've started to watch the game back and for an analysis piece later on today. How do you feel now, having watched what you have watched compared to what we watched last night?
But I think the initial thought, my overall thought hasn't changed, even regardless of watching a bit back this morning, is that the performance was consistent with what we've seen since Critchley's come in. And I think that's probably the most important and most encouraging thing. I said before the game last night that we were in a really comfortable position, that we could lose that game and still be in a perfectly good position. We've lost to the pot one team. It's not a crisis or anything like. Sorry, pot two team. It's not a crisis or anything like that. And I know that they were a little bit out of form, but as I was saying in the last video that we did, still a Bundesliga team that could turn it on, and they did for a couple of moments. They had 2 shots on goal, 2 shots on target, efforts on target, I should say, because they were headers, and they scored both of them. And it was actually a real bit of quality for their first goal to get to break the deadlock, to get the all-important first goal, basically. And Hearts didn't take their chances. That's a huge negative from the game, but we've scored a fair few goals recently and we weren't before. So I think the fact that Hearts continued to create chances, get into good positions, they continued to press and harry the opposition into making mistakes and therefore creating chances out of that. I think all of that's encouraging, even though there are negatives within there. But Critchley came in. I mean, we'll come to talk about Shankland at some point, I'm sure. Yep. Critchley came in with problems to address, and it's no surprise that a few games into his reign that some of these issues will come up.
Yeah. So I suppose we can break it down into 2 halves, essentially. So in talk about the first half, and I was really encouraged by the first half performance, and I think it showed where Hearts are at the moment. That I wrote this in the instant analysis last night, a better side when the team don't have a lot of the ball. For example, the first half yesterday, I think it ended with Hearts having 40% of the ball, but that 40%, when they did get the ball, it was moved kind of forward with purpose. Mm-hmm. It wasn't kind of just trying to control it for control's sake or sterile possession. It was looking to move the ball forward, progress it forward, get into dangerous areas, and sometimes that would just be a cross. I think it was Alan Forrest putting a cross, and even though he didn't hit a Hearts player. It forced the Heidenheim, I think it was the right back before he went off, into clearance, but it wasn't a good clearance, and it fell to Penrice, and it was one where he cut into his right foot and then kind of blazed wide, as you can expect of Penrice on the right foot. So I think that kind of stuff is what Hearts fans want to see. I think the fans responded to it, and then also when the team were out of possession, I think that perhaps that's the most positive aspect under Critchley, is that the team, we've seen it at St Johnstone at the weekend, we've seen it against Omonia a couple of weeks ago, we've seen it last night, where they make it very difficult for opposition teams. I think I think all of that was seen in the first half, where Heidenheim played a wee bit like how sometimes we play against like Kilmarnock where everyone's like the ball's in front of everyone. It's in a pass around in non-dangerous areas. That was the case with Heidenheim. They really struggled to play through, and that was a testament to just how well Hearts were out of possession.
Yes, I think I think that. So a couple of things I wanted to pick up on there, because there was a lot in there. So the first thing was
sorry.
No, it's fine, it's good. The passing at halftime, they had completed 100 more passes than us. It was a similar pass completion rate, I'm sure, but Hearts were just much more positive and direct and created a lot of chances from theirs, whereas they barely laid a glove in the first half. And relatedly, they were looking to sort of pass the ball about the back. Their midfielders were dropping in, the defenders were splitting, and then they were trying to get their fullbacks up, and then they were trying to work the ball up the pitch. We were very good at disrupting that, and I think that's why we started with effectively a front three. I think that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to disrupt that movement, and I've not watched enough of the game back yet to see exactly how it worked, but it was interesting that we saw a back three for the first time, yet he still kept those same sort of principles that he talked about in the way he wants us to play and all that kind of stuff. So that was encouraging, because that was a worry for some people, that it was potentially going to be a 3-5-2 and slow build up and what we had seen earlier in the season, pretty much. So it was encouraging to see that not only that the press worked, that he kept that we played the same way in a different shape, and it really looks like he's very good at analysing the opposition and coming up with a plan to disrupt the opposition. There's been encouraging signs of that. The back three, I mean, wasn't it a back three? I think it was, but it was lopsided in a similar way to we played a 4 against Ammonia, and it was lopsided. I think it was out of possession. Forrester was definitely playing as a right-sided centre back, and in possession he was getting up the wing. Not all the time, but he was quite a bit. So yeah, it wasn't an easy sort of shape to pin down. But again, it goes back to what the first point I made. We play like that in the first half of every game. I think we'll score goals more often than not, and I think that's what Hearts fans were looking for. That's what you've been talking about for ages, that it's in your face, up and at them, score early, make them have to then come back and get back into the game. Even if that means levels drop off in the second half, you've won the game in the first half, and it looks like that's what Hearts are trying to do under Critchley.
Yeah, absolutely. And so before we get on to talk about the goal aspect and then moving on to the second half, just sticking with the formation, because that's we kind of talked about it throughout much of the first half, kind of just trying to work out what exactly the Hearts were trying to do, because it did look like Penrice was really pushed high up on the left, and then Forrest was just looked like a wing back, and then there were just moments like Forrester is definitely playing as a centre back, and then he's moving out. I thought Forrester probably had his best game, and then as has probably happened, he kind of just levels maybe dropped in the second half. I think for we'll get into the first goal, I think he was, without trying to be overcritical of him, I just thought he was too eager to win the ball. And then just that one step, just in Europe, you get punished for that, where you're just like, by going there and then Sorry, if you could come in.
No, I just want to add before you move on, just when you're done with Forrester, basically, I just want to kind of add to what you're saying there is that goes kind of back to what Liam Fox said after his debut, that he took him off, and I think he mentioned something to do with the intensity. I think he might have been talking about like mentally as well, and talking about how big a step up it is, and he didn't take him off because I don't think it was necessarily his performance that he was just removing, because I don't know, I don't want to like put words in his mouth, or like I'm heavily paraphrasing here, but he was saying something like it was the right time to take him out, and I wonder whether this another step up again. That's why he was kind of taken off. It's not kind of nothing to do with his performance or anything like that. It's like playing at those intense levels at that level of football for the first time, basically.
And just, I may as well, I probably should have clipped it and then put it in, but I'll just read out what Critchley kind of, because I asked about Forrester's performance in his role last night, and Critchley said, I thought he was excellent. I thought it was fantastic for a young boy to play. We asked him to do a slightly different role tonight and how he wanted to build up and control the game. Also, defensively, his man from his side was rolling inside the pitch, and sometimes he was going a little bit too narrow. We wanted him to pass the man on to Frankie, but Frankie was had to deal with a number 9 and number 10 in there, so you have to manage your space and distances. Just talked about how it was a great learning experience for him, how he coped really well with the game and his temperament. So yeah, I think that was really encouraging. Because like Oyagoki, I think he's been solid, but at times he's just I think maybe the pace or the technical side of it, I think Forrester maybe looks just aesthetically looks a wee bit better, but I'm sure that we'll come on to talk about right backs in the future. So yeah, moving on and looking at the chances, because before we get kind of talk about how the second half unfolded, it was clear that Hearts rued the chances they created. That there was none better than Lauren Shankland's in the 3rd minute, where Penrice picked the pocket off Leonard Maloney. Just again goes back to that pressing intensity, and then it fell to Shankland. I think just the way, I think it was Maloney himself tried to recover, and he was right on the back of Shankland. I think Shankland was right to hit it first time. However, the execution was really poor, and mentioned this in the instant analysis. Like last season and the season before, Lauren Shankland was really, 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 really good, like brilliant at making low value shots. So like when he hit a low value shot, if it had the low value XG, sorry to get geeky and nerdy and boring, but if it was said, but just to illustrate a point, if it was a low value XG, he had such a good quality, his finishing talent at turning that into a high quality chance, just with how where he put the ball. Whereas that chance pretty much summed up, it went from a relatively decent value chance to an even lower value chance as soon as Shankland hit it, and he hit it straight at the keeper, and he kind of just didn't get any kind of direction on it at all. It pretty much summed up his situation period at the moment, where everything just seems like a struggle. I thought over the piece he put in a hell of a lot of work, but it just wasn't the Shankland of last season, and I suppose that was probably the biggest frustration, as well as the not taking the chances last night, and the fact that a couple of the chances that we did have, they fell to the person you'd actually want to have them.
I don't know exactly what it is that's going on. It seems to be a bit of a perfect storm, doesn't it? Where they're to do with like out of form, setting the bar so high, a lack of other options because of recruitment, and then it becomes a mentality thing the longer it goes on. I mean, this is a minor thing, but this was something that came my head this month. But not had a penalty yet this season, and I know that like you don't, like there's no right in getting penalties. Like you don't have a right to get penalties. But even for somebody like Shankland, when you're out of form, I suppose the penalties can keep you going to an extent where you don't fall into that, whatever it is, what one goal in however many games it is now this season. And it's definitely become a mentality thing now, because that chance he's snatched at. I watched it back this morning, and I actually wondered with Maloney on the other side of him whether he can maybe take a touch on his, but then he's on his left foot.
Yeah.
And then finish that way, because he kind of takes it on the turn, and he does kind of snatch it. And you do wonder, like you've just explained there, you do wonder if the same chance falls to him last season and he sticks at either side of the keeper and Hearts are 1-0 third minute or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the same at St Johnstone on Saturday. Boateng played the ball into him. It was just touch and shot, and just like even just go into the preparation, the warm up for the game, and when they're doing drills. He had the chance and he kind of blazed it over the bar. And I know it's just warm up, but it's just all these just little things. But and moving aside from his goals, just sticking on Shankland, I'm bringing a couple of comments here. Grant Patience says, starting to expect we'll see a cheeky low ball offer for Shanks and Jan from a certain club. I'm not sure about that. Clement's still there. Would we accept something to cash in while we can, or hold till summer, hoping he picks up form? Come back to that.
I don't think they have any money.
Yeah, they really don't. We have no other real options, so can't really take Shankland out. As his confidence looks shot to pieces. Not signing a striker in the summer was a crazy decision.
We're in a real dilemma with it. We're in a catch-22. I mean, I don't know about his confidence being shot. If he was dropped, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I think if there was another option, I think like naturally rotating him without it being like a drop thing would work. It would maybe seem like him being dropped at the moment because there are no other options. But we're in a real sort of dilemma with it, because do you persist with somebody who's out of form, or do you go with an unnatural option in that position? I know some people mention James Wilson, but I don't know. Is James Wilson ready to lead the line at Ibrox? I don't know. I mean, that's a decision that managers. I would suspect not, given that he's only played about an hour's worth of first team football or something like that.
Yeah, I was listening to Scarce Around the Funnel this morning from their show last night, and they were just looking ahead to the Rangers game and discussing just playing Vargas in attack. And then you're just kind of almost playing as a counter-attacking side. Again, I just think it's a really hard one to kind of decide. Like naturally, just like Boyce is a relatively natural replacement for Shankland. If you just have him as that kind of focal point, if you've got someone playing off of him. However, Boyce I don't think's played under Critchley, which I suppose tells you a fair bit, and the fact that when he has played this season, he hasn't performed. So there's a risk taking Shankland. I thought he played really. I thought he was poor on Saturday against St Johnstone. I think it was a bit better last night. Like I said, put in loads of work, loads of effort. But I just think I just have sympathy for him that he's in this situation where it's hard to make a change. And I just look at, I think we mentioned it last week or when we did a video, I think he could have done with not being called up for Scotland and essentially just given either time off to reset or just gone through like a kind of, I don't know, I think probably time off to reset would probably be better. Like he did last season. I think it was last season when he went through a wee bit of a tricky spell. So yeah, who knows? But it's you just look at the way Hearts have been playing at the moment. If you had a fit and firing Lawrence Shankland, then it just elevates this team up even further. And you're looking right, probably win more comfortably at St Johnstone. Probably win last night where they had a couple of chances. So yeah, it's a frustrating time at the moment. We will move on to the second half. Heidenheim scored 2 goals. They won it 2-0. Interestingly, I didn't really think about this until I was on my way home or when I was lying in bed last night, bizarrely, trying to get to sleep. But Hearts have, under Critchley, have not conceded a goal in the first half. All goals have been conceded. All goals have been conceded after half time. And again, you looked at you looked at the way the team played in the second half, wasn't quite the same intensity as the first half. Obviously, Heidenheim made a couple of changes. They grew into the game, as we talked about, previewing it, that they have a tendency to do. And then I think it was just a wee bit of a struggle to kind of get going again. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, and I think if we want Hearts to be a team that flies out of the traps in the first half, I think you have to accept that you're not going to do it for the full match, and you're going to have points, especially in the second half, where you drop off. But if you take the chances when you're on top, that's where Hearts have gone wrong, and that's something that Hearts have done a lot under Critchley that they didn't earlier in the season, and that's score goals in the first half, take the lead, all these things. So I think it comes back to my overarching feeling in that I'm encouraged that we kept the performance levels up. I don't think, for instance, it's not too dissimilar a performance to St Johnstone. It's a completely different game and the intensity is higher and all that kind of stuff. But and we were a lot better in the first half against Heidenheim. But you know what I mean? Like a good first half and a drop off in the second half. And I think we've seen that. I think it's been a running theme since Critchley came in. But as long as we continue to perform like that in first halves, as I say, we'll continue to score goals and we'll continue to win matches. I think there are. I don't know. I didn't feel as disappointed last night with the goals that were conceded or the defeat in the end as I would have in a league match, I guess. And I think probably a lot of that's down to the position that Hearts have got themselves into in the competition.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else from the second half is worth discussing again.
I would say that you can see the deficiencies in the squad with the subs, maybe.
Yeah,
I think that we can't keep the same. Yeah, we can't keep the same quality on the pitch once we start to make subs. I think there's a drop off in midfield once Devlin comes on in terms of how we keep the ball. He's very good at winning the ball back. He's got his qualities, but there's definitely a drop off in terms of in possession if he comes on for either Beningame or Boateng. And you could probably look at a couple other positions, like when Spittle comes off, we don't have anybody of the same quality to come on, and a few other examples of that. Like we're saying about Shankland, I guess, as well. But although Shankland's not in form, is the key difference there.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen. I just think there's work to be done on the squad from it being going back to the summer when you're looking, that's really good depth. Guys just haven't performed. Guys haven't stepped up. So you're now essentially you've got a big squad, but you're playing it with kind of a smaller squad. We'd probably like to have seen Tate come on instead of maybe Grant last night in the middle of the park. I do think he's probably more of a natural replacement for one of Benny or Malachi Boateng in terms of what it gives you on the ball when you've seen just how fans react to like Forrester and Wilson when they play. Another one, just looking at the team, I think Dhanda still waiting. So we've seen this season in terms of the signings, Penrice has been consistent. Boateng's been good. Spittle, after a slow start, has really made a position for himself. He's made himself one of the first teams on the team sheet. I think out of the other person signed from Scottish clubs, and you expect them to come in and do well. There's a lot of hype over him. I think Dhanda's still waiting to kind of light up the way that Spittle has in the last couple of months.
Yeah, there's been flashes of it. Definitely been flashes of it, but it's no surprise that he's been sort of in and out and one of the first players substituted and things like that. It's not quite clicked for him. Very good at Aberdeen. There was another game either side of that, which I can't really remember which one it was, but he was pretty good. There was a few games where he was pretty decent around that time, but either side of that, not bad against Rangers. There's not really been too much from him otherwise. Somebody that's come up in conversation recently that I was wondering whether there might be a place for, somebody that I'd completely written off pretty much at Hearts, and it's Oda coming back from injury. There's a lack of pace in the team. I know that we've seen when Oda gets into positions that the final ball's not there, but it's a different manager. It's a clean slate for everybody. So I wonder whether when he returns from injury, which is still a couple of weeks away, whether we'll see him given his chance and whether he might be an option like Vargas has improved. I know that Vargas was good last season and dropped off, but he wasn't very good at the start of the season. There's been an improvement in him under Critchley. I wonder whether we could see something similar with Oda.
Yeah, so you looked at last night, and another one was, there was a moment, I can't remember specifically when it was, but there was a moment where Alan Forrester got the ball, he ran, and then it was just like, he just everything about it was tired. He kind of lost it, and then they were able to break forward. And it was just, again, quite put a lot into the match, and you're just looking at someone like Oda coming on, replacing them. For me, I think there's probably few more frustrating players personally for me than Oda at Hearts. Where
that Falkirk game, man.
Where there's something there. He can be direct. He can be. We've seen him score goals from good position, get into good position, score goals, but it's never really consistent. I sometimes just think he takes the easy way out where he can get the ball turning, just run at your fullback. That's Hearts fans will appreciate that turn, keep it, and it's like that's not what a wide player with your pace and your qualities should be doing. So just like, and it's kind of built up, and I just don't think he was another player that towards the end of Naismith's tenure just did not deliver in the slightest. But yeah, like you said, it's just the way the squad is. Be interested to see if there's a bit more, if there's anything to kind of be encouraged by if he gets back into the lineup or back into the fold. Obviously, Neuenhoff, we might see him in potentially before 2030 with a bit of luck. But we will move. So kind of the last two things we'll talk about. We'll just look at to the Rangers game very quickly. But in terms of where Hearts are in the group, we've got Cercle Bruges later on this month. You still quite confident that this that Hearts will get that one, but as expected, 1 point to move on and get into the knockout stage?
Yeah, I think they'll beat Petroclub no bother without. I mean, I was shocked. I was a little bit shocked by how poor Dynamo Minsk were, and I think that given how much we've improved since then, got them at home. I mean, a lot can happen between now and then, I know, and I know we shouldn't put all our eggs into that basket. But even to add to that, the two away games, Kilmarnock showed earlier in the season that they can be competitive against those two teams. Neither have been in excellent form since, and I think you can see in this tournament now Copenhagen might need a win against us given how they're going at the moment. And in fact, Bruges can probably all but secure qualification if they beat us in the next game. But we could find that, I don't know, teams sometimes use these competitions to rest players and rotate and all that kind of stuff. Heidenheim did it last night, for instance. So I don't think it's impossible that Hearts take a point from one of the two away games, as well as being heavy favourites for the remaining home match. So yeah, I still think that Hearts are going to be in I'm going to say the next round, but it's like such a weird format that there's like a playoff and then it goes to the knockout. But yeah, it looks like Hearts will still have another two-legged tie, whatever that is, in the competition after the year. Yeah,
I'm the same. I would love. I was speaking to our press colleague of ours after the game last night, walking back to the car, and we were talking. He's going to Bruges, but as a fan, and it would be wonderful to. I mean, we talked before, have a big away result in Europe, especially when there's going to be 3,000 Hearts fans there. We're obviously both going, and it would be great to do it that way, with rather than, like you said, hanging on. Well, not hanging on, but waiting until the final game against Petrol Cup, who I think we should beat. They're out of the 36 teams of the Conference League, they are currently sitting 36th. So I think it probably tells you about the quality that they have. Cercle Bruges, seen bits of them against Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock probably regret not, or Kilmarnock probably see it as a missed opportunity not to beat them. And they're mid-table in Belgium, they're below Hearts in the table at the moment. So I do look at that as being the one where hopefully a big European performance. Even if it's a draw, I think a draw would be a decent, a good result. Copenhagen, I was just looking at their schedule. Unfortunately, they play either side of the game against us. They play, I think it's a second-tier side in a two-legged cup match. So I wonder if that'll be that allows them to rest.
I kind of stopped myself when I was talking about them, because are they on 2 points? Is that right?
2 points, yeah.
So they're probably gonna have to need to make sure they prioritize us at home, I'd imagine. So that's probably going to be a bit more difficult than the Bruges game.
Yeah, because they've got they're away to Dynamo Minsk in their next game, so you'd expect them to go on to 5 points before they play.
Honestly, man, I don't know if you want to go into it at all. It's something that I've kind of held back on a couple of times when we've been talking about the tournament as a whole, but the format is just mental. It's really silly. I mean, there's so many things that I already questioned about the old format, about teams, losers from other competitions dropping in. I mean, I already question the merit of that, because it's just a safety net for failing big clubs, basically. And the big thing about this format was talking about every game matters and all that kind of stuff. Is that no, none of these games at the start really matter. There's just nobody knows what's going on for ages. It's just there's too many games, there's too many teams, there's no groups to kind of have any kind of semblance of what progression teams are making and all that kind of stuff. You could effectively not turn up. A big team could effectively not turn up for the first 2 games, put everything into the next few and still go through comfortably. I mean, I just think it's a real red herring to say that there's fewer dead rubbers or whatever. Okay, there might be fewer dead rubbers on the last 2 rounds of fixtures, but I just feel like the start of this phase is just all over the place. And I don't like it. I mean, it's good for the amount of, it's good for getting teams like Hearts into it and getting more European games and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I mean, Chelsea beating a team 8-0 and just results like that. And I mean, Celtic beating a team. Celtic have barely won a Champions League game for years, and then they beat a team 6-0 at home. It's barely winning a Champions League game for years is a bit of an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. I just think, I don't know, the formats of these tournaments are very, very strange.
I'm going to completely disagree with you. I love it. I think it's great. It's just I think it's great for. I just think it's great for Hearts, and it's just it's unwielding. Or if that's the correct word. Looking at the 36 team table, but I just think it's. I just think it keeps your interest. If you're, I get it from a Chelsea point of view and stuff like that, where if you're a really good side and you can get away with not playing. You can get away with kind of probably resting players and playing a second side in most of your games. But for Hearts, I mean, just taking it on a personal level, I think every game matters, and it gives you that opportunity to win games, to play different teams, to progress into Europe for the first time since beyond Christmas in Europe for the first time since 1989. Mm-hmm. And then you're looking at now and you're thinking, just the way we're talking, go to Bruges and get a point and we're kind of through. And then if you do that, I think potentially get another couple of results and you can sneak into the top 8? If not, then can you try and get seeded for the knockout stages? And I'm very much in the camp of liking when tables are, you can split, or you get into different splits, or if you need to get into a certain bracket or whatever. I just think it's. I know I'm only kind of speaking from a Hearts point of view, but I just think it's a nice, it's nice and fresh. I just really like it.
I'm not a big fan. I think in general we're ruining all the formats of tournaments by making it just hundreds and hundreds of games just to get rid of a few teams. It's stupid. And then in this one, not only that, but I don't think there's any merit in being like, my Hearts could, like you say, Hearts could make history by going through. But at the same time, it's like, is there really anything is it really that great an achievement to be one of the 18 best teams out of 25 when there's teams like Dynamo Minsk and Noah, just one guy in the tournament? I mean, I
yes.
Don't think so. I think so. And I agree with you that if you look at it from an individual club perspective, then yes, with the exception, like you say, of like the likes of Chelsea and stuff, then yes, I do think it's exciting. Every game matters and all that kind of stuff. But I think stepping back and looking at the tournament as a whole, I think it's just too murky and too. I don't think it makes any sense really from a sort of competition standpoint. And like I said, I question the merit of the Euros playing, having, was it 24 teams, and then they play all those group games just to get rid of 6 teams or something like that. I'm not a fan of that, and I think this is just another version of that, basically.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Euros version of that, but this competition benefits Hearts, so I'm a massive fan of it. We'll finish off just very quickly by looking ahead to the Rangers game. Just very quickly, Hearts have not won since. Hearts have not won Ibrox in over 10 years. Do you think that could change on Sunday? There's probably not a better time to play them.
Aye, definitely. I think I feel. I mean, I wouldn't say I feel confident, but I feel more confident than I have done for a while, just because of how poor Rangers have been domestically recently, and even against St Mirren, that wasn't a convincing win at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're there to be got at, yes, but I mean, I know that the Hearts are still in the position that they're in for a good reason as well. So I know that we don't have our problems to seek. But again, go back to if Hearts perform like they did in the first half at Ibrox, then it's going to be a really, really tricky afternoon for Rangers. And I think the state Rangers are in at the moment, I think that's the main thing, really. I don't think there's been a better chance in a wee while.
Yeah, my only concern is it seems that Clement has stumbled on to a sensible midfield. He's decided to drop Tavernier. I think Czerny is a really big threat. His pace and the way he can move.
Barami, the two of them are coming to form.
Yeah, so there are aspects where you think, are they just getting into? Are they kind of sorting themselves out? Not sorting themselves out that they're going to start motoring, put loads of wins together, but sorting themselves out to a good enough degree their Hearts go to Ibrox and kind of do the usual. But I agree, if Hearts can start the way they started the games recently and get Ibrox on the back of the Rangers fans, because I don't think it takes much, especially now, it doesn't take much at all for Rangers fans to get very antsy and direct their anger or frustration towards the players and the managers. So if we can do that, then that could set up a game. Its big thing will be being clinical. We will be back on Sunday after the game to discuss the performance, hopefully discuss the first Hearts win at Ibrox since 2014, the first one in the top flight since maybe 2012, maybe. Can't remember off the top of my head. But until then, we will have plenty of stuff going up on the site over the next few days. There's stuff there. There's Craig Gordon stuff. big interview, hopefully, if I get finished today, with Jim Jeffries going up tomorrow, just on the secrets of managing Hearts. There'll be Craig's analysis and probably other bits and bobs, stuff from the go to the B team game tonight against County Beef, so there'll be stuff from that. But yeah, be sure to check that out. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, whatever you do for YouTube. That is a massive help to us. And then until then, yeah, have a very good weekend and goodbye.